in one of the most incredible test matches we've seen in a very, very long time. England flattens India in the first test match. Samir Malik, how you doing? We
Dazzle
got a
with
big
brains.
one.
That's what they're calling it today. Dazzle with brains. What an incredible turnaround here. India dominated this test match for 4 days. And guess what? England won on the fifth.
Yeah.
Unbelievable cricket. Ben Duckett. What can I say, man? This guy has written his name in the history books. And guess what? This is just the first test of a 5 match series. Incredible cricket ahead all summer.
Incredible stuff, Samir. Samir, we saw the retirements of Virat Kohli, the retirement of Rohit Sharma. People were saying that this Indian batting lineup is inexperienced. They have young players coming in, a new captain in Shubman Gill, and Yashasvi Jaiswal, possibly the biggest star of the future. Some would say Shubman Gill, but with this Indian lineup, they played brilliantly, Samir. But England on the final day, man, Ben Duckett, as you just mentioned, they were absolutely incredible. England or India batted first in this game and they scored 471. Samir, we expected that to be a lot more. India were 430 for 3 wickets.
Hey, so both innings, India collapsed, right? India's, lower order just couldn't do what they've done previously. In the last 5 years, if you remember, where India won test matches, it was the lower order players like Jadeja, Ashwin batting properly and scoring some big runs. Guess what? They didn't get it in this test match, and that was the reason why England came back. Obviously, listen, chasing 371 on the final day. And guess what? Under good bowling conditions, it was overcast almost all day. And guess what? Ben Duckett, he basically was taking out those reverse sweeps. He was reverse sweeping for sixes. He was hitting the ball all over the park. And guess what? India, even with Bumrah, couldn't close the deal.
We saw it all, Samir. We saw it all. And then England, in reply, 465 with Ollie Pope. The much maligned Ollie Pope, Samir. We're going to spend a bit of time on Ollie Pope because he really was in the news, 2 weeks leading up to this game, even after making a 176, I believe it was, against Zimbabwe. Harry Brook, 99. And India, in their second turn at bat, 364. We saw an absolutely outstanding knock of 137 from Rahul, who was batted everywhere in this order for India. Rahul did an interview yesterday, Samir, where he said he doesn't remember what is his position these days because he's done so many different roles for India, and essentially he's proud of how far he's come because he's now such a versatile player. He's able to do whatever the team needs. Pant, 118. Josh Tongue, 3 for 72, and Bryden Carse, 3 for 80. Now, England winning by 5 wickets. Samir, let's spend a bit of time on the incredible, absolutely incredible Rishabh Pant. Sunil Gavaskar, a few months ago in Australia, referred to Rishabh Pant as stupid, stupid, stupid. But this is Rishabh Pant, Samir. He gives you these incredible performances, and another day he does something, as Gavaskar would say, stupid.
Hey, listen, Rishad Khan, remember what happened to him, right? Just a couple of years ago where that accident happened and we thought that he would never be back. Incredible athlete, right? That's the most important thing. I think after the first century in the first innings, I think he did a somersault flip, right? And then when he scored the second century, Gavaskar was there saying and repeating, saying, "Listen, you got to do that flip again," and he did. So incredible batting, Harrison, striking at 84 in the second innings, striking at approximately 75 in the first innings. The guy's incredible, right? I think he's a very, very good keeper, and he kept India in the game. But the shocking part was that from 430 for 3 to 471 all out. And then in the second innings, okay, they were 287 for 3 to 364 all out. And I think that's the difference in the game. Remember, this game went all the way to the final hour because we had a rain delay. and the game changed again. So I think, once again, India did well in their first outing without Rohit Sharma and Kohli, both retired now. And I don't think even with Kohli and Sharma, they could have done any better as far as scoring these runs. England just matched them pound for pound, right? Usually, remember we talk about scoreboard pressure. First team scores 471, England scored 465. They were within reach. Second innings, India scores 364. Ben Duckett and company, 373. So incredible batting, incredible performances. It was a great pitch. Remember, this was a good batting pitch, but it was also there for the bowlers. And today you were seeing, once again, there was a time when Prashant Krishna came in and he took back-to-back wickets of Crawley and Oli Pope. We thought things were back in action. Then remember, Thakur gets Ben Duckett. Next ball, Harry Brook, the white ball captain, gone for a duck, right? He scored 99 in the first innings, he scored duck in the second. This guy has no luck, right?
I mean, but we have seen everything in this test match. Incredible performance there from Rishabh Pant, becoming only the second player in the history to score 200s in both innings at Headingley. The first and only batsman to do this before Rishabh Pant was Shai Hope.
Yep. Which was lately. It's not as if it was 10 years ago, man. It was just recently, right?
Yeah.
So I think, hey, listen, Test cricket, this is great for Test cricket, right? Remember, we just had a World Test Championship where, South Africa chased down 200 plus on a pitch which was difficult to bat on. I think this wasn't as difficult to bat on, but once again, hey, listen, 373 on the final day. Hats off to England.
Samir, we've seen everything. Test cricket is just incredible. As you just mentioned, the World TC Final. This game, Samir, saw over 1,600 runs, 500s, relentless drama, and a chase for the ages of England chasing 360. Was it 364?
371.
371 on the last day. I mean, just incredible stuff here. Incredible stuff. Samir, Virat Kohli is now retired. Steve Smith, I don't believe he's at his best anymore, right? I don't know if you would agree. Bumrah Azam has, in my opinion, completely fallen off the radar. And Joe Root, obviously, still incredible. So that Fab Four that we would have spoken about religiously, Samir, over the last 10 years.
On the Fab 2 now.
Is it still a Fab 2?
Fab 2.
So you believe Kane Williams is still there, right? Yeah, he's
still there. Joe Root keeps on scoring runs. I think in the first innings, Joe Root was unlucky. He had a good start, and then Bumrah. Once again, Bumrah is one of the greatest bowlers in Test cricket these days. He's the greatest bowler in ODI cricket for at least this generation, right? Everybody agrees with that. And I think with Joe Root getting out for 28, he came back today and he closed the deal, right? This is why the guy has 13,000 runs in Test cricket, and I've been predicting he's going to be the greatest Test batsman of all time when he's done.
Who do you reckon, Samir, are some of the next candidates for this Fab Four? I reckon Yashasvi Jaiswal is going to be a real superstar, and he's someone that I believe is going to make it into that next band, if you want to call it, of Fab Four players.
Hey, listen, he's already got 2,000 runs, right, in Test cricket. Once again, he's already played 20 tests. And guess what? He's only 23 years old, which is incredible, right? So I'm pretty sure, he's already got 5 centuries to his name. I think he's going to score a lot of runs. But it's just too early to tell right now. Remember, it's just too early to tell. I think you've also got to remember that he's been very lucky that he's been playing in the conditions that he's been playing in, right? Remember, some of these conditions are definitely positive for Test cricket, right? That's what it is. And once again, I don't think he got much of a chance against Australia. But, once again, I think, the next time round, he's going to score more runs in Australia too. I think he had, one century in Australia? So I think this time round, next time when he gets
I think he made 200s in Australia.
2 or 1? I thought he only made 1.
I have to go back and look.
That was in the Perth test. Remember, he scored 161. Yeah, so I think there is a possibility that this guy is going to score a lot of runs. Look, he just scored 100 in the first innings here. Also, got once again out early in the second innings. Remember, it's not easy batting in British conditions. Remember, I'm talking about English conditions. Remember, I'm not talking about conditions which are suited to these players, right? Remember, new balls, the ball is swinging. Remember, these are Duke balls. These are not Kookaburra balls that they're playing with, right? These are
Right.
Duke balls. Duke balls swing a lot more. Even though I believe that England didn't have a good attack in this test, and I think they got very lucky. And listen, once again, we spoke about this, right? Where England, in both innings, at the collapse that India had, the English bowlers at the end, took off on the tail enders, right? But the top order of India dominated.
Ben Duckett Samir has slowly compiled an incredible record for himself in Test cricket, and obviously for his team. He's done very, very well. A batsman that when you look at Ben Duckett play Samir, you wouldn't necessarily think he's going to be one of the best players in the world. I don't think anyone was thinking that when Ben Duckett started to play consistently for England, but this guy is incredibly consistent. He goes a little bit against the grain as far as batting and batsmanship is concerned, especially in swinging conditions in England. He doesn't leave the ball, Samir, but he does one thing very well. He plays the ball so late, almost after it passes him. He's a square of the wicket player, Samir. But how good, Samir, is Ben Duckett? And is Ben Duckett, in your opinion, one of the best batsmen in world cricket today?
Hey, listen, he's an unorthodox player, right? And you know what he embodies? To be honest, Zach Crawley and Ben Duckett both, embody, I think, the coach, Brendan McCullum, right? If Brendan McCullum would have been batting today, probably would have been batting even more crazier than he was batting like 10 years ago. But, what I see in Zach Crawley and Ben Duckett, I saw in McCullum a decade ago. That's what I see, right? Remember, obviously everybody remembers Brendan McCullum in the finals of the 2015 World Cup, getting out first ball, right? But the truth is, the guy had an incredible career for New Zealand, right? And what I see here is that Ben Duckett is looking at his coach, and he's basically doing the same things that his coach did in his playing days. That's what I see. Today's performance, remember, they were 21 for no loss overnight. They come in this morning, overcast conditions, and guess what? The guy scores 149 runs in a chase on the fifth day. Once again, listen, you know me. I always say the fourth innings total is always the best total. And anybody who scores runs in the fourth innings has my respect.
Throughout this game, Samir, India's attack, with the exception of Bumrah, and obviously Prasid Krishna in the second innings, was serviceable, so to speak. But for the most part, I would say the Indian attack did not look as threatening as we would have liked to see. Thakur, for example, it didn't look as effective as it usually is. What do you think going forward, especially with Bumrah having said that he's probably not going to play more than 3 test matches this series?
No, Bumrah hasn't said it. The team said it. The team
No,
said
Bumrah
that
said
they want to maintain and make sure that he is fit to play cricket. They don't want to overdo it like they did in Australia, right? Even though, hey, listen, whatever they did in Australia, they still ended up winning the T20 World Cup, right? They still ended up winning the Champions Trophy. Obviously, hey, listen, Australia was a tough tour. I think, remember, Australian conditions are much more tougher, much more hotter to play over there. I think the British conditions, the English conditions are significantly better, right? Once again, I think it's hot out there too, but it's not as hot as in Perth and Melbourne and those places in the summer of Australia, right? So I think, can he play all 5 games? I think he looked pretty fit, even though he didn't get many wickets today. He looked pretty fit, but I don't think India is going to take that chance. I think India is going to probably play him in the next game because they want to try to square the series. But I think they've said that the third test match, he's not playing. And remember, there's a lot of cricket to be played. We just completed the first test match. By August 4th, we'll play 5 games, including today.
Yeah, and there's a bit of time between this game and the next game as well. I think there's a shorter turnaround between games number 2 and 3. So
yes, and
that is very reasonable.
Yes.
Job for Archer.
But I think India will have to probably make one more change. Siraj didn't look that great, right? He didn't look that great in the first innings. He didn't look that great in the second innings, right? So
what about Shardul Thakur?
Once again, Shardul Thakur, I think, is there probably to score runs at the end, and that's what we were talking about, right? That India's success has also come from the lower middle to the lower order, and in this game, the middle to the lower order failed tremendously, right? That's what happened. Remember, Jadeja, even though in the second innings was 25 not out, he didn't score any runs in this Test match. Same thing with Thakur, didn't score any runs, and then remember, Siraj, Bumrah, and Krishna. I think in both innings, between the two of them, they had like five. Between the three of them, they had like 6 runs in 2 innings. So they're not batting anyway. So I think Thakur is probably there to give India some depth in the batting department. Remember, once again, Karun Nair, he's just coming back into the squad. Once again, he didn't look that great in this Test match. Sai Sudarshan didn't look that great in this Test match. So I think they'll have to look at those two guys and also look at their bowling, and which players they potentially could replace for the second Test. But remember, England winning has the same problem. I think Shoaib Bashir looked terrible. I think a lot of people are saying, "Oh, Tung looked great." Yeah, Tung looked great against the lower order. Tung looked terrible against
But
the
it's,
upper
it's still
order.
important though to get lower order wickets in here.
Oh, of course. Hey, listen, once again, if you get the upper order, it's much easier to get the lower order. If the upper order is scoring 430 for 3, you're not going to expect every time to have your team out for 471. I'm telling you, India was very lucky. England was very lucky that they got India all out for 471. That 430 for 3 could have been 600, 700.
Samir, England have consistently chased large scores in the fourth innings over the last couple of years in this baseball era, and now we're coining you've coined this new phrase, baseball with brains, to describe how they're playing now. But is baseball the most effective fourth innings strategy in your opinion?
Hey, it worked today, right? And
It's been working for a
Hey,
while.
listen, but once again, it wasn't that 6-7 running over, dash and hash, right? This was more about, scoring runs and taking advantage of, the bad balls and some of the good balls, like that one reverse sweep where I think, Ben Duckett reverse sweep Jadeja for a 6. That was just a ridiculous shot, right? Nobody's playing that shot. Nobody's playing that shot on the 5th day, except for Ben Duckett.
No, you're right. It's a little bit different from Johnny Bairstow and
Yeah, very different,
and-
very different,
and
they were very, very intelligent.
wiping their way to these totals.
Because the question is going to be, hey, listen, for both teams, what adjustments are they going to make for this next game? I think from an Indian perspective, I think, once again, are they going to look to bring a Washington Sundar or a Nitish Kumar Reddy into the side, right? Add another legit all-rounder. Even though Thakur is an all-rounder, he's not really as good as those two. And then the question is going to be, did both England and India miss a leg spinner, right? I think Kuldeep Yadav is there. Would he be more effective, as a bowling along with Jadeja, right? I don't think they had that opportunity where you had two spinners from both sides going for it. And then England's going to be the same thing. The question mark for England is going to be bowling, not batting, right? I think
And the next match is in Edgbaston, right? Can you confirm?
Yes.
All right. And so that pitch, Samir, is known to take a bit of spin.
Yep, Birmingham.
Yeah. So that's known to take a bit of spin. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
Kuldeep coming in is probably a good call.
I think Yadav comes in, right, as a leg spinner for that game. And, Yadav and Jadeja together, I think could have troubled England today. But once again, they didn't have an effective spinner going along with Jadeja today, right? I think the same thing's going to happen to England, right? England's got to really think about, their bowling. Their bowling looked terrible, to be honest. Once again, Ben Stokes can't bowl, 20 overs a day. Once again, I don't think he should either. But at the same time, who are they going to bring in, especially a spinner?
Hey, Jimmy Anderson is still playing.
Jimmy Anderson's a pacer, right? I'm talking about the spin side of the equation. Once again, hey, listen,
Jimmy's still playing,
I've never seen an English team without an effective spinner. And you saw this in this game today. Joe Root was throwing in a few overs.
Yeah. Samir, when you get to 430 for 3 wickets and you lose that game comfortably on the final day, that has to be demoralizing for any team. And England had not England, India had so many opportunities. There were so many missed chances also in the
A
field.
lot of drop catches.
But just mentally, obviously they played well. The young guys, I would say, did themselves proud, just being a sort of young unit with a new captain. But mentally, this is tough. Can India bounce back from this loss?
I think so. I absolutely think so. Hey, listen, once again, it's the adjustments that need to be made, right? Did the lock did the dressing room get too comfortable in both the innings, right? Did the dressing room said 4:30 for three, we're in control, and they let it go, right? Test cricket, you cannot let it go. Every session is a new session. You have to continuously improve, right? Same thing with the second innings, 287 for three. You're leading by 294 runs. You lost seven wickets for 70 odd runs, right? Did you once again relax too much? I think that's what it is. And then if you look at both the innings, it was the lower middle order that basically just collapsed. Now, give England credit. They took advantage where they needed to take advantage, right? But at the same time, I think England will require, reinforcements to their bowling department. And I think India will require the same. And whoever makes the better adjustment for the test in Birmingham, and remember, India is going to have a lot of support in Birmingham, right? Ton of support. Remember, so I think India is going to go in with two spinners. Probably, Karan Nair's position and Thakur's position might be under threat.
After one game?
I think so. Listen, in this test series, you can't mess around. You can't be 2-0 down. Listen,
So
India
Karun
cannot
Nair,
afford to go down 2-0.
Karun Nair, who made a triple hundred early in his career, was
Like
dropped.
years ago.
Was dropped. Finally worked his way back into cricket because he was out of cricket
Yes.
for a while. Worked his way back into cricket, scored loads of runs. You're gonna give this guy one test match.
No, I'm not giving him one test match. What I'm saying is what I saw, it wasn't effective, right? What I saw wasn't effective. First innings, once again, listen, to be honest, he was padded up for, a good, 50 overs. Overnight, he's padded up all the way into next day, right? So, he comes in and then, immediately 4 balls later, Stokes gets him. So that's a problem. And then, going forward, you're saying, hey, listen, the second innings, there's an opportunity for him to score runs. Once again, he couldn't score runs when he needed to. So I personally think, the opportunity for Karan Nair in English conditions is a tough opportunity. Remember, he's not an established Indian cricketer, right? He obviously scored that triple century back, when he started cricket. But, based off where he is right now, it's not as if the last couple of years he's been with the team. He's only been selected because, remember, the great Rohit Sharma and the great Virat Kohli aren't there anymore. And those are some tough shoes to fill.
Guys, let's hear from you. Samir and I, we believe this is one of the greatest test matches that we've seen in the last, I'm going to say 5 to 10 years.
Exciting, very exciting.
Very, very exciting game. Where do you rank this game on the list of most exciting finishes going into the final session? No one knew who was going to win. Going into the final day, we had no idea who was going to win. This test match had ebbs and flows, everything, the drama, 1,600 runs, intrigue, just a fantastic advert for test cricket. And Samir, again, this is why we love cricket. It's because of test cricket. Incredible
days
moments.
Days like today.
Incredible, yes. Incredible games like this. So, again, guys, Samir, any final words?
Hey, listen, I'm looking forward to the second test match. I can't wait for this second test match to start, man. I'm telling you, it's going to be an incredible game. Yeah. And I think, once again, it's a summer of test cricket. 5 test matches between England and India. One is down. India wants to strike back immediately. I think if India goes down 2-0, it's going to be very, very tough for them to recover from there. And of course, England will want to make sure that they continue in this direction.
Yeah, looking forward to it as well. I'm hoping for a bounce back from India. But test number 1 down. Ben Duckett and Joe Root. And Zach Crawley. Don't forget Zach Crawley. Flattens India on the final day. England 1, India 0. See you soon.
See you.